Alrighty, so it's time to do another news of the week on this Saturday, and believe it or not, we are getting very close from the beginning of the season and also inching closer to the regular season that will start on the final week of February. But as I mentioned in the last News of the Week episode, we definitely had a lot of signings and transfer rumors that has happened in this week, and this is kind of the reason why I do two News of the Week episode instead of just doing one during this time of the off season, because there's just way too many news to discuss in just one News of the Week episode. But the first couple of news I'm going to talk about, I'm going to kind of just fast forward in terms of talk about some of the signings that happened, because I've already talked about how much these players that come to their respective team is going to impact them. When I talked about, there was reports that they were going to sign him, and that this is pretty much me just kind of saying the first free news in terms of the fact that most of these news has been official, with Orlando City signing winger Martin Ojeda from Godoy Cruz on a DP contract, Charlotte FC of course finally signing Ashley Westwood from Burnley, and the Houston Dynamo also signing attacker Ivan Franco from Club Libertad. And like I said, I mentioned this before, I'm not going to really kind of go too deep or give you guys too much information about how that will impact the teams, because if you want to learn a little bit more about it, I mentioned it in the past couple of News of the Week episode that I've done. Now, one signings that I haven't mentioned before that is made official is Elias Manuel, as the Red Bulls officially acquire him on a permanent transfer. So there was question the fact that whether or not if he is going to be back after he's been spending on loan with the Red Bulls for the second half of the season, and knowing the fact that he definitely brought some good things to this Red Bulls team, especially on the attack, it was not a big surprise that they were looking to try to make this a permanent transfer, and indeed that, of course, is what they do. Now, St. Louis also acquired Phoenix Rising goalkeeper Ben Lunt, and they're not the only team in terms of acquired players from the USL Championship. Cincinnati acquired left back Isaiah Foster from Colorado Springs Switchback, and this is kind of something that I kind of wish MLS teams might be looking into, the fact that there are some talented players in the USL Championship. Yes, I know that there is that myth talk about how the USL Championship and MLS, there's a huge talent gap in terms of players quality in both of these leagues, but I think it's definitely inching a little bit closer, and especially I feel like we should be seeing more of these signings where some of these very good players in the USL Championship, they need to at least get a chance to play in MLS or give a shot playing in the top tier, and we're seeing that with both of these players. Though, albeit, I think for Ben Lunt, I know he was doing his time with the Rising. He was definitely a great goalkeeper for them, and that I think he's a good backup option to Roman Berkey that they're going to have as their main starting goalkeeper this season. And then of course Isaiah Foster, good option in terms of the depth that that FC Cincinnati will have in the fullback position. And from what I also heard, he definitely did very well doing his time with Colorado Switchback. So again, I feel like nowadays we should be seeing more teams, maybe instead of looking depth within the league, maybe look in the USL Championship, because secretly there's definitely some hidden gems in the USL Championship too. Now, the LA Galaxy have acquired Memo Rodriguez off of free agency. I really like this signing from the Galaxy, because I thought Memo Rodriguez, doing his time with the Dynamo, I don't think he's been appreciative of how hardworking he is, and he's kind of one of those hardworking, run-of-the-mill kind of attacking player and number 9 player, and that I think he's definitely going to bring that for the Galaxy, and especially also put a little pressure off of Chicharito's in terms of the goal scoring department. Though you also kind of maybe question the fact that, well, they could have just done that with Dejan Joveljic, and last from what I heard, it feels like Joveljic is still with the team, even though Greg Vanny seems to kind of not refuse to play Joveljic in the starting 11, even though he's pretty much lighting up the league coming off the bench last season. But now, with good attacking option, I think the Galaxy, when you look at this attack, it's definitely the strongest that we have seen in recent years, and that, again, adding this piece will definitely help. And it also helped with Memo Rodriguez finally able to leave a team that has been just kind of been a bottom feeder for the past couple of seasons, and joining a Galaxy team that is looking to try to make another playoff run. Now, Orlando City have acquired Brazilian left back Rafael Santos. Now, this news actually came just a couple of days after they acquired Lucas Petrasso in that left back position, and it's going to be interesting to see in terms of that battle of the left back position. Is it going to be Petrasso, or is it going to be this guy that is going to be the starter for this back position and the guy that will be replaced João Matinho spot? But one question I will still have with Orlando City is what are they going to do with the right back position, because they still have not found a replacement for Juan in that right back position, and the player that they're looking to try to play hasn't really gotten a lot of minutes and has been kind of unproven. So I'm assuming they're eventually going to figure out that, or maybe, you know, with the way that they signed two left backs, maybe they can convert one of them to be a right back and play in that position too. But yeah, it's kind of interesting the fact that, you know, they just signed a left back a week ago, and the fact that they decided to sign another one just a couple of days later. And it's not like the fact that Orlando City is, you know, before when they of course signed Lucas Petrasso, I think they have like two fullbacks in their, or actually no, not two fullbacks, but two left back in their depth chart. So they now have pretty much a very good depth chart in terms of that position, and I would say even a little bit too many, because having four left backs in your depth chart, that's definitely a little bit too much compared to other team that usually have three or even have two. So yeah, that's kind of interesting to see, you know, whether or not the fact that maybe he could be this guy could be converted to that right back position, or is he going to be battling Lucas Petrasso for the starting left back position for this Orlando City side. Speaking of Orlando City, former Orlando City striker and certainly a guy that has been kind of becoming a journeyman in MLS in Dom Dwyer. Well, it looks like he's now going to have to look for another team, because Atlanta United have officially waived him. And I don't think during his time with Atlanta, he didn't really look that bad. I mean, there's been times where he has been called upon where he's been able to respond well and able to score those big goals, and at times even showed the flashes of what Dom Dwyer used to be. I mean, it's hard to believe that I think about 5 or 7 years ago, Dom Dwyer, especially during his time with Sporting KC, was really the class of the number 9 in the league, and that there was even discussion of the fact that he could be the future number 9 for this U.S. men's national team. And yeah, that ship has definitely sailed a long time ago, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's been battling with injuries, and injuries kind of ruin of what could have been a good or not just a good career, but a great career in MLS for a bunch of team, and now he's kind of becoming a journeyman. So yeah, we'll see whether or not if he maybe land with another team. I mean, if you're looking for a guy that could be a kind of like a utility number 9 and a utility striker in your roster, then Dom Dwyer probably is the best one that is available, because like I said, even doing his limited time with Atlanta, he definitely worked hard and able to score goals that was asked upon him. Now, they also let go of Alan Franco and actually transfer him to Sao Paulo. Now, from what I heard, the reported fees was like something like $2.7 million, which is a bit of a loss that Atlanta did suffer, because when they bought him somewhere around $3 million. And this is kind of an interesting one, because, you know, after they decided to move on from George Campbell and let him go to Montreal, I was expecting the fact that Alan Franco was going to be staying with the team, and especially, you know, the depth chart in the defensive part and in that center back depth chart that Atlanta has, it started to kind of get thin a little bit. It's kind of surprised the fact that they decided to get even thinner with them letting go of Alan Franco. I mean, I'm not saying Alan Franco was bad for Atlanta. I think for a while he was definitely a really good defender, especially during his time when he formed a very good partnership with Miles Robinson at the center back partnership. But there's also times where last season he's kind of started to show his inconsistency, and maybe Atlanta just decided that they might as well just kind of cut their losses, or the fact that they're looking to try to sign a defender. Because speaking of defender, as I'll talk about in just a bit in this moving forward series, there is definitely one very well known defender that could be potentially be moving to an MLS, or moving to another MLS club after declining option to extend their contract that I'll talk about in just a bit. Now, moving on, in terms of the next news, we got Benji Michel has officially departed Orlando City, and that he is going to be joining Premier League side Aroca. Now, Benji Michel, obviously, he has been a guy that really ever since he break through for Orlando City, I can definitely had a sense that he could definitely make the jump to Europe and can have a decent career, and that, well, now he's definitely got a chance to make that jump to Europe, albeit, yes, he is going to be joining a Portuguese side that I'm pretty sure nobody have heard about it before the season begin, but, if this is what he wants, if he wants to test himself in Europe, this is an opportunity to do so, and that there's no doubt that Orlando City and their fans are going to be missing Benji Michel because of the way that he's definitely one of the fan favorite, and a guy that while he's not really kind of like a flashy number 9 and a guy that is going to be always a lethal goal scorer, he can be a guy that can come off the bench and score some crucial goal for this Orlando City side. So yeah, I think it's definitely something that is going to be a bit of a loss for Orlando City, especially in terms of the depth chart in that number 9 position, because as I mentioned in the Moving Forward series episode, I think when Benji Michel was playing in that number 9 position for Orlando City, they looked much better going forward on the attack compared to Jean Carra. Now, moving on, in terms of the next news, we got Austin FC have transferred midfielder Thomas Pochettino to Brazilian side for Tazela. Now, remember Thomas Pochettino? Remember how when he was bought by Austin FC and named them as one of their first DP in their expansion season now, and how many people said that he could be a Diego Valeri kind of type of player in MLS? Yeah, it didn't quite work out that way. And again, a lot of that has to do with the fact that, he really kind of failed to live up that hype from the get-go with him getting off to a slow start, and then of course the injury started to hit, and then it's just get to a point where Austin decided to kind of move on from him. Well, actually just kind of loan him back to Argentina. Maybe, of course, it will work out, but it turns out in the end that doesn't seem like is the case, and that now he's going to be going back to South America permanently, but this time joining a Brazilian side here in Fortaleza. And again, it's unfortunate. I mean, we've seen this before where sometimes players come into the league and they have a lot of hypes around the fact that they can be a good player, especially in that number 10 position in Thomas Pochettino, and that this is just one of those moves that just kind of never work out for Austin, and I think they just kind of want to cut their losses, and especially with the way that Driussi is basically the future for this team in terms of that number 10 spot. There was no way that Pochettino was going to get back into the starting 11. I mean, at very best, he'll probably be just playing behind Sebastian Driussi, or maybe play in another spot, and that is just something that I don't think will work out for him either. So this was kind of a no-brainer move for Austin FC to move on from him, but it's kind of a shame the fact that it's again, even during his short time with Austin, there was a couple of games that he has shown that potential and show why a lot of people label him as the next Diego Valeri in MLS, but unfortunately just never work out, and that, like I said, he's now pretty much going to be going back to South America permanently this time. Now, Victor Wanyama has signed a new 2-year contract extension with Montreal. Now, this has been something that's been rumored for a very long time of whether or not if Victor Wanyama is going to be one of those players, along with many Montreal players, that is going to be sold off in the winter transfer window. And the answer is no. He's going to be staying with Montreal, and that, again, I think for Montreal, no doubt that this upcoming season is going to be a little bit more challenging because of the way that we've seen before, where teams decided to sell some of their talent. I mean, while it's a good thing because of the fact that that's what the league wants many of these teams do, they want to develop good talent and eventually sell them off a profit. We've seen it before where that, of course, has happened, and the very next season, the team that kind of decided to cash in their asset, and now they kind of started to become a little bit thin in terms of the talent that they have. And in Montreal cases, I mean, losing Georgi Mihailovic is going to be definitely tough, and the same goes with Alistair Johnson and even Ishmael Kone too. But retaining Victor Wanyama, just such a leader for this Montreal team, will definitely help their cases of the fact that they're not going to regress as badly as what maybe some people thought that of course was the case. Now, Toronto FC is reported to reject a transfer bid for Canadian youth international Jaquel Marshall-Rutty, and I'll tell you what, I really think TFC has started to kind of maybe waste the career of Jaquel Marshall-Rutty, because as much as I know there's been a lot of hypes around about this kid. I mean, I remember a couple of years there was a lot of big club in Europe, like Bayern Munich, for example, were targeting him, and that, again, the reason why I don't think he has kind of lived up to the hype so far is the fact that he's been playing in the wrong position. Like, I think most of the time they have played him more in the fullback position, and he's just not a fullback. He's a midfielder for this team, and I just don't know why they decided to kind of play him in the incorrect position, and therefore that's why he's not really getting the best out of his career. Now, obviously, TFC is looking to maybe correct that mistake and trying to hold on to him and eventually develop him to a player that what many people thought that he could be a really good player in the future, maybe even a future kind of Alphonso Davies kind of type of player. But what TFC is trying to develop, the way that they develop him, they're just not developing him correctly, and I think they got to get this right. Otherwise, it's going to be another no kind of situation where that kid was another player that had a lot of good potential, but TFC kind wrecked his development to be a decent player, because they also put him in the wrong position, and he just didn't have any kind of value after that to a point where he was eventually being cut from the team. Now, TFC is also interested in terms of signing NYCFC goalkeeper Sean Johnson, and this is not a big surprise, consider after they decided to let go of their two main starting goalkeeper in Quinton Westbrook and Alex Bono. They were in search of a new goalkeeper, and Sean Johnson is definitely the goalkeeper that is at the top of the list in terms of free agent goalkeeper for this season, and I won't be surprised they're going to go hard in terms of trying to get him, and especially with the way that NYCFC, again, there was that question, are they going to maybe keep hold of Sean Johnson, even though this, of course, is his final year of his contract, and even though at first you would think it's kind of a no-brainer for them to retain their starting goalkeeper, right? Well, it doesn't seem like that, of course, is the case, because now, again, TFC, they're showing heavy interest in terms of that, and I won't be surprised they're looking to try to scoop up this deal, because, like I said, if there's one spot that TFC desperately need besides defensive help, it's definitely the goalkeeping position. Now, moving on, we got RSL interest in terms of signing Colombian right winger Carlos Gomez for a club record $4 million, and if this move does go through, this is the beginning of the new era for RSL. I mean, we talked about this last offseason with the Smith and Blitzer kind of group taking over this team, and have promised the fact that they're going to spend more money for this RSL team, and so far we haven't really kind of seen that from this team, but it feels like maybe this is the breakthrough move, and especially from what I heard that he can be a very decent player and can fit very well in MLS. I think they can get a good player, and especially the fact that they better hope that is the case, because they're spending a club record $4 million for that, and that this would be really the first time we've seen RSL really started to throw in the money that they pretty much have never done throughout their time in MLS, and not surprising, because they are considered one of the smallest market team in the league, but they have seen now that some small market team has been able to splash the cash that and also under this new ownership that they had, they're finally showing that they're not afraid to join in that party. Now, moving on in terms of the next news. So I talked about earlier an MLS defender in the free agency market that could be a very lucrative kind of free agent signing if either of these MLS teams can get him, and that player is Alexander Callens. So just like Sean Johnson, that you would think that maybe NYCFC was going to lock Alexander Callens to a long-term contract, that doesn't seem like the case, because now it seems like he has not only have some strong interest from Boca Junior, but our MLS team is looking to trying to get him off of free agency. And from what I also heard is that NYCFC have tried really hard in terms of retaining Alexander Callens, but Callens just simply say no to the offer, and that it's pretty clear that it seems like he may be moving on to their team, and especially with the way that they also just signed a defender not too long ago to be potentially the replacement for Calland. It seems like he has already have one step out of the door, and again, he is a guy that has been proven year after year to be an MLS caliber defender and an MLS caliber center back, and that again, there's going to be a lot of teams that I think is going to chase for his signature, and we'll see which team is going to win the Alexander Calland sweepstake. I mean, I feel like this kind of defender getting into the free agency market is just as big as the Aaron Long kind of sweepstake that we saw, which eventually LAFC was able to win that sweepstake, and now with another great defender lands in the free agency market, you know there's going to be a lot of teams that desperately need defensive help that is licking their wounds and looking to trying to get him off a free agency. But now moving on in terms of the next news, and now finally moving away in terms of talk about some news not involving signings and transfer rumors. So Taylor Twellman has officially left ESPN, and I think this pretty much. Oh, actually, let me just get rid of the here. It's not ESPN, it's ESPN. That is, and that this move I don't think is a big surprise. Now, as much as I'm definitely one of the many people that do not like Taylor Twellman, and especially with the way that he has been kind of one of the most obnoxious kind of play-by-play analysis on ESPN. I still think that there are times where he has definitely been able to show why he is definitely one of the veteran announcer in this league, and that a lot of those hot takes that he of course made is kind of in some way of him just kind of working in the culture of ESPN, because ESPN, we know that a lot of their analysts and a lot of their people that of course create these shows are just used to basically bring out those hot takes, which is kind of interesting to see now that most likely with the way that him leaving to ESPN and potentially be one of the lead analysts on Apple TV, whether or not if he's going to continue to bring out those hot takes that we seen before. But yeah, I think the other thing that I think this also single with him leaving ESPN is the fact that this is pretty much the end for ESPN in terms of covering American soccer, and it's such a shame, because I think ESPN has at least tried their best to continue to cover this sports, and especially even though I know ESPN has really gone downhill for pretty much now a decade and two, this is definitely still considered to be the top premier network or the top premier sports network in the country, and the fact that now it seems like Fox does have that monopoly now, and especially with Apple TV gaining the monopoly in terms of MLS play, yeah, this pretty much just signaled the death of ESPN, and it's also not a big surprise because of the way that ESPN has really never cared about MLS, and especially when you saw all these kind of games that ESPN of course show in terms of the league. Most of the time it's just them showing the fact that, well, here we are, here comes the coverage, and then after the game is over they immediately cut to another thing, or even worse, there's times where they literally put some like college softball kind of thing, or even some women college softball kind of thing over an MLS game. That just kind of shows you how ESPN just simply don't care about this league, or even care about the sports in general. And that, again, with Taylor Twellman leaving, I think that is pretty much the final nail in the coffin because of it. Now, moving on in the next news, we got Inter Miami 2 have officially named Pipa Higuain as their next head coach, and I definitely are very happy to see Pipa Higuain finally getting a chance, because we knew that after he announced his retirement, he was definitely going to go into the coaching round, and that it's definitely good to see that he is going to be staying with Inter Miami, albeit with the reserve team, and that I think they definitely hire a great guy that is definitely going to be able to be used as a guy that's going to develop some good talent for this Inter Miami team. But also, this could be a stepping stone for Pipa Higuain potentially getting a chance to maybe even one day become a head coach in MLS 2. Now, moving on in terms of the next news, and I definitely want to send some thoughts and prayers and condolence to our Toronto FC player Sebastião Endo, who was recently diagnosed with leukemia, and that leukemia obviously is definitely a serious kind of disease, and that, yeah, it's unfortunate that he of course was diagnosed for that, and that I'm pretty sure the entire TFC community is definitely wishing him well, and that, yeah, hopefully he does have a great speedy recovery because of that. But now moving on to more lighter news. We got there was a report suggesting that Zinedine Zidane was actually interested in terms of being the next U.S. men's national team head coach, and not surprisingly, he immediately said no to that. And I don't think that's a big surprise because, again, Zinedine Zidane, it was always going to be too true the fact that he's going to be the next head coach for the U.S. men's national team. I mean, the U.S. men's national team, there's a criteria where you have to be American, and you have to, of course, speak good English. And I'm not sure if Zidane actually does speak good English, and that right off the back, that is going to definitely reject him to become the next head coach for this U.S. men's national team. But also with the fact that Zidane have multiple time have said that if he was going to coach a national team, it is definitely going to be friends and friends only. And there could be a chance that could be the case, because once Didier Deschamps potentially run his course with the French national team, Zidane could be the next head coach of this French team too. But again, with him potentially rumoring the U.S. men's national team job was always going to be a far cry, and that is not a big surprise that he immediately said no to that. But at least it was fun, linking of one of the more well-known managers in the world of soccer. But yeah, nice try, U.S. men's national team. It's not gonna work if you decide to get someone that already fails the qualification, because of the way that I don't think Zidane actually does speak relatively good English, and not to mention he's not an American head coach. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these news on the board? And as always, if there's any news I didn't mention here on the board, let me know in the comments below as well. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do like, smash the subscribe button. And yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.